What's up, everybody? It's Alex from Heavy New York. We are back at Gold Sounds, and we are here with Lowell of Frail Body. Thank you so much for your time today, man.
Yeah, thanks for being interested in doing this.
Yeah, it's an honor to have you here. I really enjoyed your latest record, A Brief Memoriam. Do you just want to give like a rundown on how the making of this record was in terms of the songwriting, recording, mixing, all that fun stuff?
Yeah, so it's kind of split. Side A is a separate session that we recorded around this time last year, and side B was actually from some sessions that we recorded 2 years ago. Same producer, Choir Room Audio, Zach Farrar out in Chicago. And pretty much a lot of the subject matter deals with the passing of my mother from cancer.
I'm very sorry.
Yeah, it's rough, but that's like, when we started this band, the bass player Nick and I kind of had a series of conversations where we were like, we don't want to write about like ex-girlfriends anymore. We don't want to do any of that. Like, we don't want to like pick at the low-hanging fruit. We want to like write about stuff that's actually hard to talk about and that we actually, need to talk about. So that's pretty much what A Brief Memoriam is about, and it's summed up in the title. It's a brief memoriam. So yeah.
I've noticed with some song titles like Your Death Makes Me Wish Heaven Was Real, I believe. Like, did that sort of play a role in that as well, the making of the song title?
Yeah, totally. I mean, it's that's something that I think that we're striving for with this project, at least, is just absolute and open honesty and no rock star bullshit.
Of course.
We're making this stuff because we need to. We'd be making that record whether it was getting a major whether it was getting put out by anybody or not. I mean, if we were just like fully DIYing it and just like doing it ourselves, like that record was going to get made no matter what. So, we just feel like we need to make these songs so that we can get that shit off our chests. And
yeah.
So
obviously, everything that you personally went through, this is obviously a personal record for you, but did what you wanted to sing about and like the subject matter, did this determine the outcome of like the music and the instrumentals itself in a way as well?
Yeah, because I mean, when things were kind of happening, I mean, a lot of those songs were getting written as stuff was, as things were winding down, and as we were out and touring and writing the next record and whatnot. She passed away while we were, or right before we went in to track A Brief Memoriam. So a lot of that stuff was, riffs that I was just writing while I was like hanging out with her, and things like that. So it did make it really personal, even past the lyrical sense. So, and then the B side of the record, Nick Krasinski, our bass player, had much more of a role in. He pretty much wrote it instrumentally. So it's a good representation of all three of us, I think. So. I mean, me coming from the lyrics, and then, Nick wrote a lot of the instrumentals on the other half, and I wrote a lot of the instrumentals on the first half, and, yeah.
One thing I've noticed is that, like, even though this was, like, a personal record, and you mentioned, like, the side A, side B thing, but, like, I've noticed that a lot of these songs, while I think there was an underlying, I could tell that they were all done by Frail Body. I feel like a song like Aperture, for example, was very different from a song like Pastel or something like that. So, like, or I forgot what it was. Tradition and Verses, that was another song. So, like, is it fair to say that, like, maybe the making of each song called for, like, a bit of a different approach as well?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there are so many things that we draw from. Krasinski and I are huge post-rock heads, and Clemenson just wants to, like, gravity blast as much as he can. He's coming from, like, a death metal background, and it's... So when we come in and make a song, it might be an under minute, like just total ripper, where it's just 100% all adrenaline, or, Krasinski and I might come up with something where we're like, let's do a post-rock song. Let's make something that's like 6 minutes long and just like kind of jam it out and feel it. And, so it's something that's another goal, I guess, is aside from absolute honesty, is just not being like, oh, we're a screamo band, we have to do this, that's stupid. Like, I don't know.
You don't want to dictate yourself.
Yeah, exactly. You know, we've got plenty of panic chords for days, and we also love reverb and delay. So, you know, we just want to do all of it. So.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. One thing being a vocalist that I was curious about is, do you
Mhm.
need to hear music in order to come up with like the exact lyrics, or being that, you clearly have a concept or a subject matter in mind? Maybe I kind of asked it before, but like, could like lyrics ever determine like the composition itself?
Yeah, totally. That's actually that's a good question. Yeah, there's the way that I write lyrics a lot of times is I will write something that goes to whatever the syncopation of the guitar and drums are. But there have definitely been one or two segments where the lyrics have written the instrumental part. Your Death Makes Me Wish is one of those songs where like I pretty much was scribbling out just stream of thought poetry as I was experiencing things with my mother passing, and I had a bunch of lines where I was just like, this will be a song. I rarely do that, but like, or we rarely do that, I guess. But when it happens, I think it's something that needs to be, like those lyrics, if they're that important, then obviously it will warrant a song. If I'm like, this has to be a thing, then we'll sit down and hammer out hours of practice so we can find something that wraps around it so we can get that concept out.
Yeah. You ever worry though, like you'll have like the perfect lyrics ever, and then they like go like one syllable over the actual arrangement?
Oh, that happens so much. Yeah, it's yeah, that's the challenge of it. But I mean, yeah, it's yeah, just put in the time and the work, and working with them is fucking amazing. I mean, I am extremely blessed to be working with the best drummer in the Midwest and the best bass player in the Midwest too, in my opinion. So
where in the Midwest are you from again?
We're from Rockford, so it's an hour outside of Chicago, like an hour west.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of nice. We kind of Chicago is kind of our actual hometown.
Yeah, you hear that a lot. Like I've
Yeah.
interviewed a few bands from Wisconsin, and they like said even though we're from Wisconsin, we always consider Chicago to be like our home turf.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because playing in Wisconsin is really weird. We have been a band for 3 years, and I don't think we've played Madison yet. No, we played Madison once. And Madison's like 50 minutes from us, and I think we played there once, and yeah, it's just very weird. It's really strange. Wisconsin's a weird market.
Yeah, to each his own, right?
Yeah, I mean, I love it
Dairy
there.
metal.
Yeah, yeah. Milwaukee's fun though. We've played plenty of good shows up there, but yeah, sometimes it can be a little challenging. Shout out to JJ.
There you go.
Yeah.
One thing I was curious about is kind of going back to your lyrics in a way. Do you try to get the listener to sort of see things from your point of view as an artist, or do you try to also maybe leave the record rather open to interpretation?
It's kind of interesting. I mean, I would like everybody to take their own thing, but also at the same time, it is kind of a selfish outlet for me. And like what I was saying before about how the goal of this band is just to be extremely open and honest, I kind of like the idea of just being extremely blunt and just being like, no, this is the story. Like, this is what it is. Yeah. And if somebody else takes something away from it, that's awesome. I love that. But that was my therapy session. So, those songs I made because or not me, but the lyrics rather. I wrote the lyrics because that's what I was feeling. If somebody else feels a similar way in a different situation, that's wonderful. But I kind of like to use that as telling her story, So it's, it can be for other things, but for me personally, it's about her. So yeah.
When it comes to like getting inspired to write, do you sometimes need to put yourself in a certain element or a certain mode in order to like get into the songwriting mode, or does inspiration sometimes just come out of nowhere?
It always, for me personally, and actually I think us as a band too, I think it always just comes out of nowhere. It's really hard for us to sit down we've we've tried so many times to be like, all right, this is our writing day. You know, whenever we have a writing day, like we come in and we might like,
out.
yeah, we might get a riff here and there, but like really, like the magic happens when we're dicking around in between songs. And like Clemenson will start playing some. We've had a few songs where he's actually played like I think the intro of Pastel was a joke actually, because he just started playing this like drum thing and it was just like bop, 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 and I was like, no, keep on doing that. And I just, you know, put a guitar line behind it and I was like, yeah, no, that's a song. Let's do it, you know.
It's always the classics, right? I
Yeah.
mean, I think the intro to Sweet Child O' Mine was originally a joke, and now we hear that song probably once every concert we go to.
Oh my God, yeah, exactly. So it's yeah, it's strange. It happens in different ways, but I feel like for us predominantly, whenever the setting is right, when the three of us are in a room, that's when it happens always. Like,
Of course.
so yeah.
Of course. Do you ever, like you mentioned, like there's never such thing as a writing session, but you know, every artist has artist blocks at one point or something.
Yeah.
Do you have like a method of overcoming an artist block in a way? Or like if there's a time where you really just can't get something out or something, you just have to distance yourself from a while and kind of let time sort of determine?
Yeah, I think what helps honestly is touring, because I feel like whenever I step away from writing or step away from the project for a bit, whenever we take a break to do family things or just like focus on our own personal lives and whatnot, that's always when it happens. And I just like can't really, you know, personally for me writing riffs, it just doesn't really happen that much. But the second that we get out on the road, I'm just like, I've got like 2 records like of riffs. Like we got to get home so we can get back to work. So
Got to start bringing an audio recorder on the road with you.
Yeah. That, I mean, hey, that's a good idea. That thing's small enough to fit in a backpack. So
Yeah, but you know, you're with the band. I bring that stuff into the venue. They think it's like a taser gun or something like that.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
You'll have better luck carrying it than I do.
Yeah.
But like I'd imagine, because like, you know, you because you say inspiration sometimes that kind of goes back to like the inspiration thing, and you say touring helps you come up with an artist block. Do you think what helps is maybe being in like a different city and maybe being in like a different atmosphere outside of your own comfort zone probably plays a role in that, right?
Yeah, I would definitely say so. I think part of it also is that when I'm at home, and speaking personally, at least, when I'm at home, I listen to a lot of podcasts, and I will read and do a lot of things that are like, I'm not listening to a lot of heavy music. I listen to a lot of electronic music. I listen to
Aphex Twin?
Yeah. Oh my gosh,
my
yeah,
God,
yeah.
yes.
I am dying to just like get the entire collection on vinyl. I'm just like working at it.
Square
but
Pusher as well. Square. You ever listen to Square Pusher?
No, I've been recommended Square Pusher a few times.
That's not a bad recommendation.
We'll add it to the van playlist.
There you go.
But that's that's a good segue into that. When we get out on the road, we're just listening to music all the time. So when we're in the van, we're listening to all this stuff, and I'm getting to find new artists through. I mean, Nick and Nick both have just this huge knowledge of various different genres and whatnot, and I get to just kind of sit down and listen to whatever they've been listening to that week, and I'm just like, oh, this is fucking great, cool. And then I think, like, aside from seeing other screamo bands or other hardcore bands or whatever that we're playing with, just getting to be exposed to new music just from the aux cable is like just as important, you know.
Of course,
and
art comes out of art.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Here comes the most difficult question I ask
Okay.
every artist, because
All right.
this is why it's my favorite one to ask. How do you know when a song is done? And I've noticed, because I think like
Ooh, I got a good one.
yeah, because I remember the second song off of Beautiful Memoriam, Your Death Makes Me Wish Heaven Was Real. I think that's like a 4.5 minute long track. But then like I think like Pastel was like 2.5 minutes or something like that. So how do you know when a song is done?
I know because the Knicks tell me to shut up about it. I know when a song is done personally because I have a really bad habit, and if they were up here, they would be dying about it. But I have a really bad habit of wanting to write like 5-minute songs, 6-minute songs, just like these epics that are completely unwarranted. And the Knicks are very good about just being like, no, that riff, kill it after that. And I'll like maybe fight for the other cool little thing that I did, and I'll be like, but I did like a noodly thing here that sounds really cool, and they're just like, no, it can just stay at a minute and a half. And I'll be like, okay. And then once we get in and play it for the first time live or something like that, then I'm like, yep, yeah, that's exactly what it needed to be. So, and a lot of times that is actually how we write songs. Like I'll come in with riffs, and then they make it a song and make whatever ideas that I originally had not suck. And they take so much of like whatever like huge blocks of audio that I'm coming in with, and they just strip everything down, and they're just like, no, these are the best parts, we should do this. And then that riff is dumb, let's not do that one, blah blah blah. And so it really is a whole collective effort.
Yeah, and outside input is like such a great. While it's always great to work within yourself, help with others is always like the greatest blessing.
Oh yeah, definitely. And like I said, Krasinski pretty much wrote the entire like B-side. I mean, those were like his songs that he like even wrote riffs, like the whole structure and the riffs for. So like, it really is like the three of us working together. I think the only element that doesn't really get a whole lot of like picked apart is the lyrics. I think they really just leave the lyrics up to me, but like everybody else gets pretty equal say in like, we'll tell Krasinski like you're noodling too much on bass, or like, maybe that blast beat would be better if you like halftime or double timed it or something like that. Or halftime, yeah. maybe it would be better if you weren't doing that, and whatever. And then a lot of times they'll be like, this song shouldn't be 6 minutes, so turn your reverb pedals off, and and yeah, so it's good.
Yeah. And the final question I wanted to ask you is, when it comes to playing your material live, is there like maybe at all like a similar energy that you put into your live presence when you're playing in front of an audience as you do when you're in songwriting mode, or is it a completely separate mind frame altogether?
It's a really separate mind frame, I'd say, because when everything's just so different live. I mean, sorry. when we're when we're writing, it's a very structured environment where we're like, we're not moving around and throwing ourselves around and stuff like that. There's like a very it's a very like calm energy, where we're like really trying to dig into each other's parts and like working very analytically and whatnot. But when it's live, we're like, let's make each other bleed. Like, it's just
this
very
calm
different.
voice you're hearing talking is going to be screaming later.
Yeah, it is what it is. I mean, it's fun. I love it.
But so you kind of in a way like portray a different side of yourself on stage in a way, right? And I think within the album too.
Yeah, I would say so, at least for me. I mean, I think it's always really entertaining when people meet us, because we we have this very serious subject matter, and the songs are extremely serious. And like when we get on stage and we perform, like we're extremely serious, and it's business time, and it's very we're talking about extremely like somber subject matter. And then when we stop and get off, we're dumbasses. Like, we're just goofballs, and
I think by using pain as a paintbrush, it's almost like a release. Like, I feel like you excrete all the negativity on stage.
Yeah. And I think it's kind of funny when people afterwards, when they're meeting us afterwards, or like buying us a drink and like hanging out and whatnot, and they're just like see us like laughing and just like telling jokes and just being stupid. They're like, those are the same guys that were up there. Like dude was crying about his mom, and now he's like shotgunning a beer in a parking lot or something. Yeah, it's whatever. Hey, that's why we do it, so we can smile afterwards.
Yeah. So before we go, I want to thank you so much for your time. Really enjoyed chatting with you. Is there just anything else with Frail Body that you would like to promote in terms of tours or new music? This will be uploaded by midnight, so if it hasn't been announced yet, don't say it here.
No, it's all good. I don't know for sure the dates just yet. I think January 23rd through February 3rd or 4th or something like that. We're going to be on tour with our label mates in Harbor Lights. We don't have dates fully set for that, but it's going to be down through the South and whatnot, and that should be fun. So
awesome. Well, thanks so much.
Yeah, thank you. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Everybody, we are here with Frail Body, A Brief Memoriam. Be sure to pick that up if you haven't already. This is Alex from Heavy New York. We'll see you next time.
Thanks.